Welcome to Quiz Time. I'm your quiz master, Sean, and I've got 100 questions for you about nostalgia. So, shall we give our brains a workout? Shall we have a little fun doing it? I think we shall. So let's get to it. What was the name of the first home video game console released by Atari in 1977, which remained popular in the 80s? The Atari 2600, the Atari 5200, or the Commodore 64? It was the Atari 2600. Which Nintendo character, introduced in 1981, was originally called Jumpman? Mario, Donkey Kong, or Link? That was Mario. What was the first main entry in the Final Fantasy series, released in 1987? Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy, or Phantasy Star? And that was Final Fantasy. What was the first automobile powered by an internal combustion engine, developed by Carl Benz in 1886? The Ford Model T, the Benz Patent Motor Wagon, or the Daimler Motor Coach? It was the Benz Patent Motor Wagon. What was the name of the first mass-produced car launched by Henry Ford in 1908? The Chevrolet Classic, the Ford Model T, or the Ford Model A? It was the Ford Model T. What was one of the biggest challenges of early road construction in the 19th century? Lack of skilled labor, government restrictions, or lack of asphalt and drainage systems? It was the lack of asphalt and drainage systems. The first paved roads were created by which ancient civilization? The Romans, the Greeks, or the Egyptians? It was the Romans. What was the main reason behind the development of highways in the United States after World War II? Improving military transportation, encouraging tourism, or expanding agriculture? It was improving military transportation. What 1993 video game featured a live-action fighting tournament with characters like Scorpion and Sub-Zero? Tekken, Mortal Kombat, or Street Fighter II? And that was Mortal Kombat. The 1991 game, Sonic the Hedgehog, was developed by which company? Sega, Capcom, or Konami? And that was Sega. What was one of the biggest changes in city planning from the 1950s to now? Increase in steam-powered trains, expansion of suburbs, or decrease in population density? It was expansion of suburbs. Why were suburbs heavily developed after World War II? People wanted to escape city pollution, cities were banning residential buildings, or the government forced people to move out? People wanted to escape city pollution. What major urban development occurred in the 21st century that was rare in the 1950s? Increase in coal-powered factories, larger houses being built in city centers, or smart cities with digital infrastructure? It was smart cities with digital infrastructure. Which invention contributed most to city expansion in the second half of the 20th century? Was it the automobile, the subway, or was it the telegraph? It was the automobile. What was one of the biggest environmental issues caused by urban development post-1950? Decrease in electricity use, increase in forests, or air pollution from more factories and cars? It was air pollution from more factories and cars. What is a major climate difference between Northern and Southern Europe? Both have similar climates. Northern Europe is colder and wetter, or Southern Europe has more unstable weather. Northern Europe is colder and wetter. Which European region historically relied more on agriculture? Southern Europe, Northern Europe, or were they pretty much the same? Southern Europe. What is a cultural difference between Southern and Northern European societies? Northern Europeans eat later dinners, Southern Europeans avoid family gatherings, or Northern Europeans are more individualistic? Northern Europeans are more individualistic. Which region of Europe has stronger Viking heritage? Eastern Europe, Southern Europe, or Northern Europe? Stronger Viking heritage. Well, that would be Northern Europe. In which decade did highway systems become a major focus for urban development in most European countries? The 1920s, the 1980s, or the 1950s? It was the 1950s. The first traffic light system was installed in which city in 1868? London, Paris, or was it New York? Who got the first traffic lights? And that would be London. What was the biggest issue with early 20th century automobiles? They were too expensive for most people, required too many repairs, or were they too slow? They were too expensive for most people. In what fantasy film franchise, released in 1986, does a young girl try to rescue her baby brother from the Goblin King? Willow, the Dark Crystal, or the Labyrinth? It was Labyrinth. Which fantasy movie, released in 1982, was directed by Jim Henson and featured puppet characters from an ancient world? The Dark Crystal, Never-Ending Story, or Legend? It was The Dark Crystal. What sci-fi movie franchise started in 1987 with a film about a robotic law enforcer? Terminator, RoboCop, or was it Blade Runner? It was RoboCop. What was the first video game franchise that allowed players to catch, battle, and trade creatures? Was it Pokemon? Was it Digimon? Or was it Monster Rancher? It was Pokemon. What material, invented in the 20th century, revolutionized road construction by providing a smoother surface? Was it asphalt, concrete, or brick? It was asphalt. Which country has one of the oldest operating road networks in the world, dating back to ancient times? Spain, Italy, or China? And that would be Italy. In The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, 1998, what is the name of the protagonist's horse? Epona, Shadowmere, or Agro? It is Epona. What is a common economic trend in Northern Europe compared to Southern Europe? Southern Europe has lower unemployment, Northern Europe has more welfare programs, or is it Northern Europe relies more on tourism? Northern Europe has more welfare programs. Which European region has historically higher taxation rates but stronger public services? Northern Europe, Southern Europe, or Eastern Europe? And that would be Northern Europe. In Southern Europe, historical architecture is more influenced by, is it Viking longhouses, Roman and Mediterranean styles, or Gothic cathedrals? And that would be Roman and Mediterranean styles. What is one reason Southern Europe has more earthquake activity than Northern Europe? They're located along multiple tectonic plates, it has more underground tunnels, or the climate affects the land structure. Southern Europe is located along multiple tectonic plates. Why are Northern European cities often more bike-friendly? Is it because they have fewer cars, a warmer climate, or they have flatter terrain and better urban planning? They've got flatter terrain and better urban planning. Which region of Europe generally has higher youth unemployment? Northern Europe, Southern Europe, or is it Western Europe that has higher youth unemployment? And that would be Southern Europe. What was the immediate cause of World War I in 1914? The signing of the Treaty of Versailles, the assassination of Franz Ferdinand, or was it the invasion of Belgium? It was the assassination of Franz Ferdinand. Which empire was known as the sick man of Europe before World War I due to its decline? Was it the Ottoman Empire, the British Empire, or the Austro-Hungarian Empire? It was the Ottoman Empire. Why was World War I originally called the Great War? It was the first war to involve the whole world? It was fought over the greatest land disputes? Or was it believed as the war that ends all wars? It was believed to be the war that would end all wars. What Tudor monarch was responsible for the English Reformation? Mary I, Henry VIII, or Elizabeth I? And that would be Henry VIII. Which country did the British Empire never successfully conquer, despite multiple attempts? Was it Afghanistan, China, or Argentina? The British Empire tried to conquer Afghanistan. Nobody could. What dish, once considered exotic, became a staple in British cuisine after colonization in India? Was it the shepherd's pie, fish and chips, or chicken tikka masala? It is chicken tikka masala. What unusual food, now a delicacy, was once considered prison food in colonial America? Was it the lobster, was it caviar, or was it escargot? It was lobster. Prison food? Which Asian dish, considered bizarre by some, is made of fermented soybeans and has a strong smell? Kimchi, durian curry, or natto? And that would be natto. Which event convinced Britain that Germany was a major threat before World War I? Was it the German naval arms race? Was it the Schlieffen Plan's exposure? Or was it the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk? It was the German naval arms race. Which secret diplomatic agreement promised British support to the Arabs in fighting the Ottoman Empire during World War I? Was it the Balfour Declaration, the McMahon-Hussein Correspondence, or the Sykes-Picot Agreement? It was the McMahon-Hussein Correspondence. Why did Germany feel encircled before World War I? Was it because the U.S. refused to trade with them, France and Russia formed an alliance, or was it because Britain built a wall around their borders? It was because France and Russia formed an alliance. Which country switched sides during World War I, breaking its earlier alliance with Germany? Was it the Ottoman Empire? Was it Italy? Or was it Russia? It was Italy. The British Empire controlled nearly how much of the world's landmass at its peak? Was it 40%, 15%, or was it 25% at its peak? The British Empire controlled 25% of the world's landmass at its peak. What was the first British colony to gain independence after World War II? Was it India, South Africa, or was it Canada? The first colony. And that was India. What was one of the earliest signs of tensions leading to World War I? Was it the formation of the European Union? Was it Germany's rapid military buildup? Or was it the rise of the United Nations? It was Germany's rapid military buildup. What was the main reason Britain supported Belgium in World War I? Was it Germany violated Belgium's neutrality? Was it that Belgium had economic ties to Britain? Or was it because Belgium was a British colony? It was Germany violated Belgium's neutrality. The famous Zimmermann telegram encouraged which country to attack the U.S. in exchange for land? Was it Mexico, Spain, or Canada? They wanted Mexico to attack. The Treaty of Versailles was signed in what year? Was it 1919, 1918, or was it 1920? The Treaty of Versailles was signed in 1919. What act of defiance contributed to Britain losing its grip on the American colonies? The Louisiana Purchase, the Napoleonic Wars, or was it the Boston Tea Party? It was the Boston Tea Party. Why was Australia involved in World War I? Was it because they were an independent ally, they were threatened by Japan, or because they were part of the British Empire? Australia was involved because they were part of the British Empire. What country's neutrality was violated by Germany, causing Britain to declare war? Was it Switzerland, Belgium, or Portugal? It was Belgium. What is considered the first fast food meal in Britain, becoming popular during the Victorian era? Was it fish and chips, pork pies, or roast beef? It was fish and chips. What treaty officially ended the British-American War of 1812? Was it the Treaty of Ghent, the Treaty of Versailles, or was it the Treaty of Paris? The British-American War ended with the Treaty of Ghent. What is fugu? A Japanese delicacy that can be deadly if prepared incorrectly. Is it raw octopus? Is it sea cucumber? Or is it pufferfish? It is pufferfish. I'm not even going to try it. What was a major political consequence of World War I? Was it that the U.S. became communist, the League of Nations was formed, or the British Empire collapsed? The League of Nations was formed. What were Britain's dreadnoughts, a naval development that escalated pre-World War I tensions? Were they battleships with superior firepower? Were they warplanes used in early dogfights? Or were they advanced submarines? They were battleships with superior firepower. Why did Japan join the Allies in World War I? To expand the Silk Road? To gain territories in the Pacific? Or was it to support Germany? Japan wanted to support Germany. What famous British figure led Britain through World War II and had previously served in World War I? Was it Dwight D. Eisenhower, Winston Churchill, or was it Neville Chamberlain? It was Winston Churchill. What was the Tudor dynasty's biggest accomplishment in foreign policy? Was it establishing England as a naval power? Was it conquering France? Or was it ending feudalism? It was establishing England as a naval superpower. What city became Britain's financial hub in the 1800s, securing its global power? Was it Manchester, Liverpool, or London? It was London. What food, considered exotic in some countries, is a national dish in Scotland? Is it haggis? Is it black pudding? Or is it blood sausage? Haggis. The 100 Years' War between Britain and France lasted approximately, was it 116 years, 110 years, or 109 years? The 100 Years' War lasted about 116 years. What was the main goal of Germany's Schlieffen Plan in World War I? To invade Russia before France? To establish naval blockade around Britain? Or to avoid a two-front war by defeating France? They wanted to avoid a two-front war by defeating France. What was the scramble for Africa during the late 19th century? A war between African nations? A trade dispute over resources? Or was it the European race to colonize African territories? It was a European race to colonize African territories. What French region was fiercely contested between France and Germany before World War I? Was it Brittany, Alsace-Lorraine, or was it Normandy? They fiercely contested Alsace-Lorraine. What was the first country to declare war in World War I? Was it Russia, Germany, or Austria-Hungary? It was Austria-Hungary. Why was the Ottoman Empire's involvement in World War I significant? It was neutral but provided financial support? Or it had the largest military in the world? Or it controlled key strategic locations? It controlled key strategic locations. What made the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk important in World War I? It ended Russia's involvement in the war? It forced Germany to surrender? Or did it divide Austria-Hungary? It ended Russia's involvement in the war. Which Tudor king was responsible for creating the Church of England? Was it Henry VIII? Was it Edward VI? Or was it James I? It was Henry VIII. What was the name of the act that allowed Britain to colonize lands outside Europe in the 17th century? Was it the Colonial Expansion Treaty, the Navigation Acts, or was it the Enclosure Acts? It was the Navigation Acts. Which French leader declared himself emperor in 1804? Was it Napoleon Bonaparte? Was it Charles de Gaulle? Or was it Louis XIV? It was Napoleon Bonaparte. In which German city can you visit Neuschwanstein Castle, the inspiration for Disney's castle? Dresden, Füssen, or Munich? Neuschwanstein. You'll find that in Füssen. What Chinese landmark is also known as the Venice of the East due to its canals? Chongqing, Xi'an, Suzhou. And that would be Suzhou. In the 80s animated series, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, what was the name of He-Man's arch-nemesis? Was it Skeletor? Was it Moom-Ra? Or was it Shredder? It was Skeletor. Which French territory in the Caribbean was a major center for sugar production during the empire's expansion? Was it Guadeloupe? Was it Réunion? Or was it Saint-Dominique, Haiti? It was Saint-Dominique in Haiti. What famous structure in Berlin was torn down in 1989, marking the end of an era? The Reichstag, the Berlin Wall, or the Brandenburg Gate? They tore down that wall, the Berlin Wall. What classic 80s video game involved eating dots while avoiding ghosts? Was it Donkey Kong? Was it Pac-Man? Or was it Tetris? It was Pac-Man. What is the name of the huge palace complex in Beijing, once home to emperors? The Summer Palace? The Temple of Heaven? Or is it the Forbidden City? It is the Forbidden City. In 1985, which famous soda company changed its formula, leading to major backlash? Was it Coca-Cola with New Coke? Was it Pepsi or was it Dr. Pepper? Yeah, it was Coca-Cola. Who messes with the formula? What German town is famous for its Christmas markets and medieval walls? Cologne, Frankfurt, or Rothenburg ob der Tauber? Rothenburg ob der Tauber. What was France's colony in North America called before it was sold to the U.S. in 1803? Was it the Louisiana Territory? Did they call it Acadia? Or was it called Quebec? It was the Louisiana Territory. In Ghostbusters, 1984, what was the name of the giant marshmallow monster? Was it the Boogeyman? Was it Stay Puft Marshmallow Man? Or was it Slimer? It was Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. What Chinese wonder stretches over 13,000 miles? Is it the Terracotta Army, the Great Wall of China, or is it Mount Huangshan? It is the Great Wall of China. Which 80s cartoon featured mutant turtles fighting crime in New York City? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Transformers, or G.I. Joe? Mutant Turtles Fighting Crime. Well, of course, that's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Which French emperor was exiled to the island of Elba in 1814? Louis XVI, Napoleon Bonaparte, or was it Henry IV? That was Napoleon Bonaparte. What German city is home to Oktoberfest, the world's largest beer festival? Is it Stuttgart, Munich, or Hamburg? And that would be Munich. In the 80s film Back to the Future, what is the name of Doc Brown's car? The Mustang, the DeLorean, or is it the Thunderbird? And that would be the DeLorean. What Chinese mountain range is home to thousands of giant Buddha statues carved into cliffs? Is it the Wuling Mountains, the Longmen Grottos, or the Li River Peaks? And that would be the Longmen Grottos. Which French military leader was defeated at the Battle of Waterloo in 1815? Was it Napoleon Bonaparte? Was it Joan of Arc? Or was it Louis Philippe? And that was Napoleon Bonaparte. What 1980s music icon is known for hits like a Virgin and Material Girl? Is it Madonna, Cyndi Lauper, or Whitney Houston? That would be Madonna. What German city is famous for its half-timbered houses and bratwurst? Nuremberg, Stuttgart, or Bremen? Half-timbered houses and bratwurst. That would be Nuremberg. What Chinese city was once ruled by British colonists until 1997? Guangzhou, Macau, or Hong Kong? That would be Hong Kong. In the 80s movie, E.T., what candy does Elliot use to lure E.T.? Does he use Skittles, Reese's Pieces, or M&M's? He lures E.T. with Reese's Pieces. What French colony in Asia was lost after the First Indochina War? Was it Vietnam, Cambodia, or Thailand? And that would be Vietnam. And now question 100. What German region is known for its castles, vineyards, and the Rhine River? Would that be Bavaria? Would it be Saxony? Or would that be Rhineland? That would be Rhineland. Thanks for playing Quiz Time. You did an amazing job. Don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and share your score in the comments, please. And while you're at it, you should check out these videos. They're really cool and fun. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.